prepare yourselves for another pointless video. If you like the video, then please throw a piece of carbon dioxide into the mimosas to wake up in the air as the next earthquake in a few minutes ago, and the crew was wondering if anyone wants to be the same time as well. Do you think of a microscope? I may not be able to afford the national tax rates of the Pacific continent of Titan, but at least I can still have a pointless series about me and my https://www.makeblick.com/project/megapi-pro-shield-rj25. I would like to buy 729,472,957,393 tickets for the notification. Subject is too far away. Yeah, I don't have the airport check-in scene, so I don't have to pay. Okay. Welcome to Non-Existent Airlines. Today you will be flying on the Tupolev Tu-144, also known as the Russian Concorde. You may be wondering, why is this called Non-Existent Airlines? That would be because the Tupolev Tu-144 is a retired supersonic jet, and was created to beat the British and French into the supersonic jet industry. The design was a product of the Tupolev Design Bureau, headed by Alexei Tupolev, of the Soviet Union, and manufactured by the Voronezh Aircraft Production Association in Voronezh, Russia. The prototype's first flight was made on December 31, 1968, near Moscow from Zhukovsky Airport, 2 months before the first flight of Concorde. The Tu-144 first in history went supersonic on June 5, 1969, and on May 26, 1970 became the world's first commercial transport to exceed Mach 2. A Tu-144 crashed in 1973 at the Paris Air Show, delaying its further development. The aircraft was introduced into commercial service on December 26, 1975. In May 1978, the then new and improved Tu-144 decrashed on a test flight while being delivered. The aircraft remained in use as a cargo aircraft until 1983, when the Tu-144 commercial fleet was grounded. The Tu-144 was later used by the Soviet space program to train pilots of the Buran spacecraft, and by NASA for supersonic research until 1999, when the Tu-144 made its last flight on June 26, 1999. The Soviet government published the concept of the Tu-144 in an article in the January 1962 issue of the magazine Technology of Air Transport. The Air Ministry started development of the Tu-144 on July 26, 1963, 10 days after the design was approved by the Council of Ministers. The plan called for 5 flying prototypes to be built in 4 years, with the first aircraft to be ready in 1966. The MiG-21I was a test bed for the wing design of the Tu-144. Despite the similarity in appearance of the Tu-144 to the Anglo-French supersonic aircraft, there were significant differences between two aircraft. The Tu-144 is bigger and faster than the Concorde. Concorde used an electronic engine control package from Lucas, which Tupolev was not permitted to purchase for the Tu-144, as it could also be used on military aircraft. Concorde's designers used fuel as coolant for the cabin air conditioning and for the hydraulic system. Tupolev also used fuel/hydraulic heat exchangers, but used cooling turbines for the cabin air. The Tu-144 prototype was a full-scale demonstrator aircraft with a very different production aircraft being developed in parallel. While both Concorde and the Tu-144 prototype had Agility delta wings, The Tu-144 single-quote S-wing lacked Concorde's conical camber. Production Tu-144 seconds replaced this wing with a double delta wing including spanwise and chordwise camber. They also added two small retractable surfaces called a mustache canard, with fixed double-slotted slats and retractable double-slotted flaps. These were fitted just behind the cockpit and increased lift at low speeds. Moving the 11s downward in a delta-wing aircraft increases the lift, but also pitches its nose downward. The canards cancel out this nose downwards moment, thus reducing the landing speed of the production Tu-144 seconds to 196-207 miles per hour, or 170-180 knots, still faster than that of Concorde. The NASA study lists final approach speeds during Tu-144 test flights as 196-208 miles per hour, or 170-181 knots. And FAA circular lists Tu-144's approach speed as 204 miles per hour, or 178 knots, as opposed to Concorde's approach speed of 190 miles per hour, or 160 knots, based on the characteristics declared by the manufacturers to Western regulatory bodies. It is open to argument how stable the Tu-144 was at the listed airspeed. In any event, when NASA subcontracted Tupolev Bureau in the 1990s to convert one of the remaining Tu-144D to a Tu-144 standard, the procedure set by Tupolev for landing defined the Tu-144 final approach speed on the order of 360 km per hour depending on fuel weight. Brian Calvert, Concorde's technical flight manager and its first commercial pilot in command for several inaugural flights, cites final approach speed of a typical Concorde landing to be 178-184 miles per hour, or 155-160 knots. The lower landing speed compared to Tu-144 is due to Concorde's more refined design of the wing profile that provides higher lift at low speeds without degrading supersonic cruise performance, a feature often mentioned in Western publications on Concorde and acknowledged by Tupolev designers as well. Along with early Tu-134 seconds, the Tu-144 was one of the last commercial aircraft with a braking parachute. The prototypes were also the only passenger jets ever fitted with ejection seats, albeit only for the crew and not the passengers. SSGS for M2. Two had been designed in the Soviet Union before Tupolev was tasked with developing one. Design studies for the Myasishef SSD had shown that a cruise-specific fuel consumption of not more than 1.2 kilograms per kilogram per hour would be required. The only engine available in time with the required thrust and suitable for testing and perfecting the aircraft was the afterburning Kuznetsov NK-144 turbofan with a cruise SFC of 1.58 kilograms per kilogram per hour. Development of an alternative engine to meet the SFC requirement, a non-afterburning turbojet, the Kolosov Road 36-51A, began in 1964. It took a long time for this engine to achieve acceptable SFC and reliability. In the meantime, the NK-144 high SFC gave a limited range of about 1,600 miles, or 1,300 nautical miles, far less than Concorde. A maximum speed of 1,510 miles per hour, or 1,310 knots, or Mach 2.29 was reached with the afterburner. Afterburners were added to Concorde to meet its takeoff thrust requirement and were not necessary for a supersonic cruise. The Tu-144 used maximum afterburner for takeoff and minimum for cruise. The Tu-144S, of which 9 were produced, was fitted with the Kuznetsov NK-144A turbofan to address lack of takeoff thrust and surge margin. SFC at Mach 2.0 was 1.81 kilograms per kilogram per hour. A further improvement, the NK-144V, achieved the required SFC, but too late to influence the decision to use the Kolosov Road 36-51. The Tu-144D, of which 5 were produced, was powered by the Kolosov Road 36-51 turbojet with an SFC of 1.22 kg per kilogram per hour. The range with full payload increased to 5,330 kilometers compared to 6,470 kilometers for Concorde. Plans for an aircraft with a range in excess of 4,300 miles, or 3,800 nautical mile range were never implemented. The engine intakes had variable ramps and bypass flaps with positions controlled automatically to suit the engine airflow. They were very long to help prevent surging, twice as long as those on Concorde. Gene Rex states the need for excessive length was based on the misconception that length was required to attenuate inlet distortion. The intakes were to be shortened by 10 feet on the projected 244M. The Kolosov Road 36-51 had an unusual variable Condie nozzle for the nozzle pressure ratios at supersonic speeds. Without an afterburner, there was no variable nozzle already available. A translating plug nozzle was used. The last production aircraft, Tu-144D number 77116, was not completed and was left derelict for many years on Voronezh East Airfield. There was at least one ground test airframe for static testing in parallel with the development of prototype 68001. Although its last commercial passenger flight was in 1978, production of the Tu-144 did not cease until 1983, when construction of the airframe was stopped and left partially complete. The Tu-144S went into service on December 26, 1975, flying mail and freight between Moscow and Alma-Ata in preparation for passenger services, which commenced on November 1, 1977. The type certificate was issued by the USS Argos Aviar Register on October 29, 1977. The passenger service ran a semi-scheduled service until the first Tu-144D experienced an in-flight failure during a pre-delivery test flight, crash landing on May 23, 1978 with 2 crew fatalities. The Tu-144 single-S 55th and last scheduled passenger flight occurred on June 1, 1978. An Aeroflot freight-only service recommenced using the new production variant Tu-144D aircraft on June 23, 1979, including longer routes from Moscow to Khabarovsk made possible by the more efficient Kolosov Road 36-51 turbojet engines, which also increased the maximum cruising speed to Mach 2.15. There were only 103 scheduled flights before the Tu-144 was removed from commercial service. The Tu-144 program was cancelled by a Soviet government decree on July 1, 1983 that also provided for future use of the remaining Tu-144 aircraft as airborne laboratories. In 1985, Tu-144D were used to train pilots for the Soviet Buran space shuttle. In 1986 to 1988, Tu-144D No. 77114, built in 1981. Was used for medical and biological research of high-altitude atmosphere radiological conditions. Further research was planned but not completed, due to lack of funding. In the early 1990s, a wealthy businesswoman, Judith DePaul, and her company at Aerospace negotiated an agreement with Tupolev, NASA, Rockwell and later Boeing. They offered a Tu-144 as a test bed for its high-speed commercial research program, intended to design a second-generation supersonic jetliner called the High-Speed Civil Transport. In 1995, Tu-144D number 77114 was taken out of storage, and after extensive modification at a cost of $350 million, designated the Tu-144LL. The aircraft made 27 flights in Russia during 1996 and 1997. Though regarded as a technical success, the project was cancelled for lack of funding in 1999. This aircraft was reportedly sold in June 2001 for $11 million via an online auction, but the aircraft sale did not proceed. Tehavia Systems, the company handling the transaction, reported in September 2003 that the deal was not signed as the replacement Kuznetsov Nk-321 engines from a Tupolev Tu-160 bomber were military hardware and the Russian government would not allow them to be exported. In 2003, after the retirement of Concorde, there was renewed interest from several wealthy individuals who wanted to use the Tu-144LL for a transatlantic record attempt, despite the high cost of a flight readiness overhaul even if military authorities would authorize the use of Nk-321 engines outside Russian Federation airspace. The last 2 aircraft remain in Gromov Flight Research Institute in Zhukovsky, numbers 77114 and 77115. In March 2006, it was reported that both aircraft would be preserved, with one erected on a pedestal near Zhukovsky City Council or above the Gromov Flight Research Institute entrance from Tupolev Avenue. We have now arrived at our destination. I am too thrivable to get a rental car or steal a taxi, so I have to walk. I have now arrived at the tech store that now I guess works with the Revless Texit. Tech. Time to go home. Welcome to Non-Existent Airlines. Today you will be flying on the Tupolev Tu-144, also known as the Russian Concorde. You may be wondering, why is this called Non-Existent Airlines? That would be because the Tupolev Tu-144 is a retired supersonic jet, and was created to beat the British and French into the supersonic jet industry. The design was a product of the Tupolev Design Bureau, headed by Alexei Tupolev, of the Soviet Union, and manufactured by the Voronezh Aircraft Production Association in Voronezh, Russia. The prototype's first flight was made on December 31, 1968, near Moscow from Zhukovsky Airport, 2 months before the first flight of Concorde. The Tu-144 first in history went supersonic on June 5, 1969, and on May 26, 1970 became the world's first commercial transport to exceed Mach 2. A Tu-144 crashed in 1973 at the Paris Air Show, delaying its further development. The aircraft was introduced into commercial service on December 26, 1975. In May 1978, the then new and improved Tu-144 decrashed on a test flight while being delivered. The aircraft remained in use as a cargo aircraft until 1983, when the Tu-144 commercial fleet was grounded. The Tu-144 was later used by the Soviet space program to train pilots of the Buran spacecraft, and by NASA for supersonic research until 1999, when the Tu-144 made its last flight on June 26, 1999. 562,856,295,639 millennia later. We have arrived at our destination. Yawn. Time to go to bed.